Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome inside the Fan Cave. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. You see the number there. Call it 412-575-2600. We'll talk sports with you. We always do it every single night of the week right here, 7 nights a week. Always something good to talk about. Later in the week, it's going to be college football. And then next week, we get into the full week of the week one of the NFL season. Today, we found out that Russell Wilson is the quarterback. I don't think this is a surprise at all, but apparently to some people nationally it was. I would expect Justin Fields to get into the game in some capacity. Mike Tomlin pretty much said that to Rich Eisen on his podcast today. So pretty much standard operating procedure there. But there was an injury today, and it's a big one when you consider Isaac Seumalo. The best part about this, it's not season ending, but according to multiple reports, Jerry Dulac among them, that this is a pec injury, but it did not get to the point where they needed surgery, so he's just going to have to be out, and he'll be out for like a month. We'll talk about that and more with you and Chris Mueller up at 93.7 The Fan. You can tweet us at KDPomp, at Chris Mueller PGH. Before we get to the Pirates, because I know a lot of people are going to want to talk about that, Chris, I want to ask you about this Seumalo injury. Now, all of a sudden, the Steelers, which really I thought were pretty blessed last year in that they didn't have any sort of major injury to their offensive line, now all of a sudden, Nate Herbig's done for the year, and it looks like Seumalo is going to miss some significant time. Puts a lot of pressure on guys like Spencer Anderson, like Mason McCormick, and these are young guys who haven't been exposed to it. What is your take about that, especially week one of this season?
Feeling very literary tonight, Bob. The best laid plans of mice and men oft go awry. Omar Khan and Andy Weidel, I thought, had the right plan after, I think, what you could term years of semi-neglect from Kevin Colbert near the end of his tenure as GM towards the offensive line. They were making it a priority again. James Daniels came in before the 22 season. Seumalo comes in to pretty great fanfare before last year. They draft Broderick Jones with the eventual intent to be the starting left tackle. They draft two plug-and-play guys almost from moment one. People said that about both Frazier and Fautanu this year. And there was going to be your line, a mix of really talented guys, in Seumalo's case, just an all-around very good offensive lineman, with some veteran players, obviously, he and Daniels. And now this thing is totally in flux. I think that's the big problem here, Bob. They don't have Jones playing where he wants to play and where I think they want him to play. That's left side. Seumalo now is going to give way to Spencer Anderson, I guess. He'll get the first crack. Do you know how many snaps offensively Spencer Anderson has ever taken in the NFL? Offensively?
Offensively, probably none. I don't know.
Two.
Okay.
He's got 2 offensive snaps in real games. Otherwise, it's been special teams, and that was all last year. Frazier, at the very least, has stayed healthy. Fautanu, I don't think, is going to be in there in week one because I don't care what he says about practicing next week. I know Jerry wrote that they intend for him to be the week one starter, but that just seems like a bridge too far. So now they've got a bunch of guys playing outside of the roles that they would normally play who aren't pedigreed guys in the case of Spencer Anderson. I think this is going to be tough for them. I think they had the right idea, but they are being waylaid early here, and that is a big problem.
Yeah, it is. And this is a team that can't afford too many more of those injuries because if something happens to Frazier, for example, I mean, they're down to who knows what at center, and they got young guys all over the place. They're probably going to have to look at the waiver wire, which I thought they might be doing today with some wide receivers. There were some decent ones out there. So far, no moves. There was a press conference today where John Lynch was asked about Brandon Aiyuk not being there again. I get the feeling, I don't know about you about this Aiyuk, which I'm tired of the story, but I guess we have to talk about it. I get the feeling from this point of view that Lynch may be wanting to say, you know what, you don't want to play, don't play for now. You know you're going to have to play at some point, and hopefully we'll use this to our advantage, and you'll play in week 10 when you come back because you absolutely have to, and by then we may need you more than ever.
Well, I think Trent Williams is their number one priority because I think they see him in San Francisco as more indispensable. And given that Trent Williams has a case to be like one of the 5 best left tackles who's ever played football, they probably want to get that deal done. And with Williams, by the way, Bob, there's a history. When he was with Washington, he actually forfeited $5 million to sit out 8 games. Like he is not a bluffing type. Trent Williams. So I think there's urgency on their part to try to get that done. Not maybe so much to get an Aiyuk deal done. The thing is, people have, I think, fallen into two buckets here, and I know we got to take a break, so I'll make this quick. Either they trade him because eventually they just give in and give him to the Steelers, basically, for a lower price, or they bite the bullet and say, everybody else wants to pay this guy, a bunch of other teams do, we'll pay him as well. We'll decide to do it. I do think your option 3 there is now in play, and that's that they just say, you know what, we're a very good football team, we have a great offense, we have a great scheme. Cool your heels until you have to come back. We'll see you when you get here, but in the meantime, we're taking millions out of your pocket. Good luck. They by the way, got Terrace Marshall today, a guy I wanted the Steelers to go after.
I heard you talk about him, yeah.
That makes me very leery. That guy, if Kyle Shanahan thinks he's worth picking up, and John Lynch, that's one of the best run teams in the NFL, that makes me nervous what they think he's capable of.
Well, I like this Noah Brown. We saw him in a preseason game here, and I think because they brought in Stephon Diggs, that could have been a guy. I don't know where he is, if he landed or not. When we come back, though, open up the phone lines at 412-575-2600. We'll also talk about the Pirates and the calamity we saw. It was historic in nature today at PNC Park. This is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, KDKA Plus and 93.7 The Fan. GMC Sierra tweeted tonight comes from Livy Dunn, who's not happy. You gotta be kidding me. Yeah, her boyfriend was on the mound, left with a 10-3 lead, and didn't get a decision, but lost. His team lost again. So the day that he gets 10 runs in support, they can't even pull out a win, and that's what kind of series it was. And Chris, I want to ask you about this just because, to me it's a trickle-down thing. It starts at the top. It always does. You put limits on what you can do as a GM. You also, that affects the manager, what he has. I don't know, the bullpen is just totally collapsed. They have players out there, those are the players they have, and every one of them failed. And in this series, I don't know how many runs they gave up out of the bullpen, but it had to be astronomical because today, Nicholas, Chapman, and Bednar again, which is a separate story unto itself, was a disaster.
Where do you want me to start? I guess first, congratulations and welcome, Livy Dunn. You're now an official Pirates fan after sitting through that today and getting disgusted. I do think their problems, if you are listing them, the issues that plague them do start with the owner, with Bob Nutting, and with an unwillingness on his part to, on an annual basis, let's just call it what it is, spend more money on the Major League Ball Club. That would help them directly. The Kansas City Royals caught lightning in a bottle. After going to the World Series, they got back there and won it in 2015. They now have had an ownership transition. I'm not sure if people here are aware of that. The Glass family doesn't own them anymore. They brought in Seth Lugo. They brought in Michael Wacha this offseason. That is 40% of your pitching staff, your starting pitching staff, is comprised of veteran free agent signees. Sal Perez has been their catcher for about 2 decades, literally, not an exaggeration, partly because they've been willing to pay Sal Perez over the years. Bobby Witt Jr. might be the, best player in the American League?
He might be the best.
Second best to Judge. All-around player. He's like the next Mike Trout right now. Right. That's how I look at him. He's the next Trout. What did they give him? $288 million. Now, he might not see all of that there. He might get traded. Who knows? My point about them is they spent some money this offseason to try to shore up that team. Do you know how many wins they have right now? I believe the number is 78.
And they're in first place after losing 106, I think it was last year. I saw that and I was stunned.
So they tried to make the team better, and wouldn't you know it, instead of saying, like, we're going to sign Rowdy Tellez or we're going to do this or we're going to give a bullpen, a one-inning guy, $10.5 million, they put their money where their mouth was at important parts of the field, and they are reaping the benefits. I cannot overlook that. There is a lot of incompetence all the way down the chain, but for me, it does start at the top. And people have said Bob Nutting was at this game today, allegedly was at the game yesterday. That's what I remember hearing. And there's this refrain, Bob, that is, I hope Bob Nutting sees this and gets frustrated. So do I.
I don't think he will.
I don't have reason to believe, based on my experience and my observations, that he will.
Well, you can get frustrated. Then it's about doing something about it if you're that frustrated. And this reminds me of a move. We have a tweet here from Ryan Zedek because we talked about this when it happened. But it puts everything into perspective, Ryan says, regarding Shelton when the Mariners recently fired their manager despite being in the thick of a playoff hunt. And again, I don't want to say it's exclusively. There's blame for everyone. But it starts when your owner kind of ties you up in what you can do. And if you can't do much, then it trickles down to the manager who doesn't have many options. That does not excuse what he's done in certain situations in handling game matters and also bullpen matters. But the bottom line is it starts at the top. Let's go to the lines here. A lot of people want to talk, and you can guess what they want to talk about. So let's get right to it. Jerry in Franklin is our first caller. Hey, Jerry, what's up?
Hey, Bob. Hey, Chris. Thanks for taking my call. Hey, I think the game is up. The Pirates have tried to give us clues and signs that they're a baseball team this year and the charade is over. They've proven that they're not. Let's call it what it is. They're a lousy team. I think what they should do is send Bednar down to the minors, give them a chance maybe to work through something, call up Chandler and Ashcraft and Harrington and Solomedo and let these guys pitch. And if it doesn't go well, it doesn't go well. The season's gone poorly anyway.
Well, they can't bring all those guys up anyway, but your point is well taken. Let's talk specifically about David Bednar since you brought him up. He started the season with an injury, and I don't have any idea if that has lingered to the point where it's affected. All I know is his velocity is still at 99, Chris, but his location is awful. He falls behind a lot of people, and as a result, they know what's coming.
Yeah, I don't know how many of his blown saves or his bad innings have started with a leadoff walk, but it feels like a lot of them. He doesn't have the location. I got to be honest, 99's not special if you're not pinpointing it. I mean, Skeens averages that on his fastball. Guys are throwing 102, 103, 101 with like a little bit of movement. It sounds insane. 99's not special. I would like to see guys like Cook, like York come up. I don't know why they're not up here. I hope they are in September. I just think Bednar cannot be their closer anymore. Shelton said it's too fresh today when he was asked point blank about Bednar remaining in that role. Too fresh? The guy's given up runs in 7 of his 11 appearances in August. He has given up 13 earned runs in his last 10 2/3 innings, the 10 2/3 he's pitched this month. Fresh? This thing's been rotting on the countertop for the last 28 days or whatever. What are we talking about here?
He's 3-7 and 6 blown saves, and a lot of them happen in this month. Back to the lines we go. Brad in Brookline. Hello, Brad. How are you?
Hey, guys. Just a few points, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
With the Pirates, why are guys like Grandal, Michael A. Taylor, Connor Joe, and Alika Williams, why are they in the lineup?
They shouldn't be. They absolutely shouldn't be. I'm sorry, I'm to the point now where I would just want to bring up, I know you can't bring up all these people, but quite frankly.
One more point.
Go ahead.
One more point. With Charrington, the MLB prospect rating, they're in the 20s right now. Why?
Because they're not doing a good enough job drafting. That's why. I don't.
Because they picked a catcher 1-1 who's hitting 156.
Yeah.
I'm going to get on my soapbox, and I'm going to defend O'Neal Cruz in a sense by ripping another player. This is a classic Mulsey misdirection here. I see O'Neal Cruz's body language. Who cares about that? Get dissected when he simply got his arms crossed like this while he's answering questions about being moved off the only position that he's ever wanted to play. As a guy who gets accused of being in a bad mood all the time because my face at a resting level is very grumpy looking, I'm sick of that. I don't care that O'Neal Cruz took a while to walk out to center field to shag balls yesterday either. Henry Davis gets sent down to the minor leagues, and we've got to talk about how he's hitting 305, he's tearing the cover off the ball. Then people are saying his real problem is that he cares too much. Maybe Henry Davis is actually so stubborn he won't change his approach at the major league level, because guess what? I think I could get him out. I'd merely throw him soft stuff away and watch as he tried to pull every single ball into the rotunda or into like Oakmont Country Club. He's swinging so hard down the Allegheny River, and watch him roll over to third base or just completely miss. Perhaps we can change his name either to Javier Davis or to Henry Baez, because they both love to swing at pitches that look like they're in the left-handed batter's box.
Well, I will say this about O'Neal Cruz, though. I thought he played a pretty good center field. I thought he made a good throw home. He was charged with an error, which is kind of the routine thing when it gets away from the catcher. It was a really good throw, and I'm encouraged if he's going to go out there and do it, and he has to do it. I thought he acquitted himself very well today.
It was the second hardest throw by an outfielder by velocity this year. 103, I think, and a half. Colton Cowser, the only harder throw from an outfielder this year, and it was right on line. I thought Shelton, by the way, was embarrassing after the game when he said he's got to work on where that hop comes in. Yeah. I don't know. How about Yasmani Grandal? I mean, it's almost like it borders on parody. How about Yasmani Grandal works on catching a ball that's thrown to him?
Yeah, here's another thing. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa should have made the play on the hit by Bethencourt in the 9th inning also. He went right under his glove. There's a lot to nitpick on there, but Jay Cutta on Twitter has this, and a lot of people were talking about it. Teams, when they had a 7-run lead after the 7th inning, were 1,192-0 in the last 7 years. Guess who was the first team to lose? Yep, your Pittsburgh Pirates. By the way, Dylan Cruz made his debut this week, and he hit his first home run for the Washington Nationals as they beat the Yankees 2-3. We got to take a break. More calls on the way right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Don't go away.